Hi, everybody. It's AV. We're in for a quick little power hour. Legal document just dropped. I was in the middle of like 6, 7 other things and videos and emails and all sorts of things. And then this legal document dropped. We actually put out a video earlier today giving you the latest on the Jay-Z Diddy debacle. As you guys have learned from that video that we dropped earlier today and just from an NBC interview that dropped last week, the allegations that are in this lawsuit from this then 13-year-old woman, now 38, do have some inconsistencies in the story, and NBC has been breaking it. So we know over the past few days that this lawsuit dropped. There were some inconsistencies, and the Roc Nation Jay-Z team is they're going in. Like, that's just it. Like, they're going in, guys. Like, they're not playing with this. Like, they're like, hey, we're going to defend Jay-Z's name by all costs. It's actually going down. The news on this is developing today. So this morning, Tony Buzbee, the attorney for the plaintiff, Jane Doe, who had bought the lawsuit, put out a statement this morning about 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time that he was going to be suing Roc Nation and Jay-Z because they were going after previous clients that he's helped in unrelated matters and asking them to come together to sue the Buzbee law firm. So we started the day with that, right? A few hours later, we see this. Y'all ready? We see this. So we're thinking that Buzbee's going to own the day with all these shenanigans and the debauchery. No, sir. No, sir. Sean Carter came back with a motion to dismiss this case. This was filed like an hour or two ago. So I have my hands on it. I wanted to break it with y'all first, and we're going to go from there. But Jay-Z's team is going in. So I'm going to bring you guys up to speed on what we can realize from this. It's going to be a quick little power hour in and out, but I'm giving you guys the news on the story as it's developing. But it is a really fascinating document. This is the response from Jay-Z's team. Now, this is in response to the woman that is making these allegations, the complaint that was revealed last week. She did file it under Jane Doe. He was originally listed as Celebrity A. The other big thing with this, the big T, is that in her lawsuit, she says that this happened at the 2000 VMAs. Jay-Z's team came back with a timeline of his whereabouts for that day, and it showed that he was nowhere near Diddy's house. Then, there are some rumors speculating that the woman, she does have some issues kind of going on. I think she has not ADHD, autism. So the other thing that came up was that it was not 2000, it was 2003. Now, why is that a problem? The reason why that's a problem, because you guys know over here on Team AV7, I like to make sure you get a little bit of legal knowledge out of me. Here's why that's a problem. There are rules that we need to follow as attorneys, right? One of them, and this is civil procedure, is Rule 11. Signing pleadings, motions, other papers, making representations to the court, and sanctions. A, whenever you sign anything, and mark my words, guys, as an attorney, whenever you sign anything and put it in front of a court, and this is why they make the attorney sign the very last page of everything, every motion, every court filing, you are certifying as an officer of the court that the information included in that lawsuit is, to your knowledge, as factual as it can be, as real as it can be. This comes up a lot in civil lawsuits, and this is why I wanted to show you guys Rule 11 one more time. As attorneys, you cannot lie to the court or the tribunal. That means everything. And in law school, I remember my civil procedure professor saying this. Everything, everything that you sign or put in front of a judge, a written motion, a pleading, every paper must be signed with at least one attorney of record or by a party personally if the party is unrepresented. So that signature must be there. Has to include your address, your email address, your phone number. Unless there's a statute that states otherwise, the pleading need not be verified or accompanied by an affidavit. and a court must strike an unsigned paper. So they can't even accept it or file it without the signature. Here's the big part: the representations you make to the court. By presenting to the court a pleading, written motion, or other paper, whether signed, filed, submitted, or later advocating it, an attorney, unrepresented party certifies that to the best of the person's knowledge, information, and belief, formed an inquiry reasonable under the circumstances. These 4 things have to be there. 1, it is not being presented for an improper purpose, such as to harass, cause any unnecessary delay, needless increase of cost of litigation. So you can't do it to intimidate or cause an issue, right? Number 2, everything, the claims, defenses, and other legal contentions are warranted by existing law or by non-frivolous argument for extending, modifying, or reversing existing law, or for establishing new law, right? So it needs to have a very specific purpose. The factual contentions have evidentiary support of it. So this is why I wanted to start this stream with showing you guys Rule 11. This third part is very important. The factual contentions within any complaint that's put in front of court, because you don't want to waste anybody's time. You don't want to waste the plaintiff's time, the defense's time, the court's time, any forming of a potential jury. You don't want to waste anybody's time. So it is very important that the allegations in any lawsuit are factual to the best of somebody's ability when they file the case. And the next part, it will likely have evidentiary support after a reasonable opportunity for further investigation or discovery. And the denials of factual contentions are warranted on the evidence, or if specifically identified, are reasonably based on belief or lack of information. Attorneys can face sanctions for that, but I'm not going to go into that too much. Instead, we're going to come here to Instagram. This is Alex Spiro, and I am going to refresh it. Spiro, I think that's how you pronounce it. Alex is Jay-Z's attorney. And the other thing about Alex is Alex has represented lots of celebrities in the past. You guys might remember Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin, and I remember this attorney cross-examining the prosecutor on the Baldwin case while she was on the stand, and that caused a mistrial in a day. This attorney is very good. So Jay-Z got the best of the best. That happened this past summer. So let's see what he has to say here, and then we're going to jump into this lawsuit. Again, guys, quick power hour. We're not going to be here for long, but I just wanted to share this news with you as it is breaking currently. TMZ reported on it about 40 minutes ago. So you know your girl want to jump in and get in here very quickly. Let's listen to this.
Specifically about Mr. Combs. He didn't really address him in his statement, but anything since outlets and internet speculation have tried to affiliate the two of them, he didn't really in his statement specifically say anything about any of the allegations.
I mean, Mr. Carter has nothing to do with Mr. Combs' case or Mr. Combs. They knew each other professionally for a number of years, just like in all professions. People know each other. At the music awards, they support each other. If you go to the NBA All-Star game, they support each other. That's just how professions work. There is no closer association between any of them. That's also a matter of fiction. That's all that there is. He doesn't know anything about the charges for allegations against him. He has nothing to do with that case.
So that is posted by 150 Cent. And the caption says, Jay said, F that ninja, we ain't cool. I just say hi to him at the ball game. So that is the contention. It's very interesting, but that is Jay-Z's lawyer making a statement to the press, I believe yesterday, saying that the relationship that Jay-Z and Diddy have is not one of close relation. They are not friends. They are acquaintances. They keep each other at a distance. That is a clip that I believe was posted, became a little bit viral last night. So that's out there as well. Now, so we know about Rule 11. Let's come back to this lawsuit that just dropped, or not even lawsuit, the response from Jay-Z's team that was filed earlier today. I would say sometime this afternoon. What do they want? This is a memo of law in support of his emergency motion for an order to show cause. And I'll explain what that means in a second. And an order for the preservation of evidence. This is very important, guys. And to strike the complaint and to dismiss Jay-Z from this action pursuant to Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 12F. I'm going to talk to you about that in a second. I do have Rule 12 up, and I can explain to you what that means. Typically, when it comes to defenses in civil lawsuits, the 12B motions or the Rule 12 motions are how attorneys will quash lawsuits in the very early stages, because even with this lawsuit was filed in October and it is still in the very early stages. You know, we talked a little bit about negotiation. It seemed like both parties were attempting to negotiate, and the negotiations broke down within the last week and a half. And that's where we are today, right? But Jay-Z just filed this, meaning this is the official response to the complaint where his name was listed on it. So about 7 days later, I think it was December 8th. Today is the 18th. So 10 days later, Jay-Z's team is filing this. Let's look at their argument and see what they have to say. And again, guys, I try to keep my streams very legal friendly. A lot of people have their opinions on whether or not they think this woman is lying or telling the truth. I'm going to ask that you just keep an open mind. Let's just look at what the lawsuit says, and then we take it from there. Table of contents, there's a preliminary statement. There's some facts. And a lot of this, pay attention to this, it's focused on Buzbee, focused on the attorney, right? There's a legal standard, which is the rule. We have the core of their argument. It looks like they have two main arguments. They want to preserve the evidence because they don't trust Buzbee. They want the evidence preserved now. So that's a big part of their argument. Second part of their argument, they want this motion to dismiss on a Rule 12 granted immediately. Usually that process takes about 21 days, but that is the core of Jay-Z's argument. Let's keep going. Very well organized, I will tell you that. Table of authorities, he's using a few cases here. Looks like there's about 10 of them to support the argument. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. They're using 16 cases to support their arguments. Rules, so they're using Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 12, which I talked to you guys about, and we can look at 37. And then they're also, this is not good, the New York Rules of Professional Conduct, Rule 3.4E. Ugh. Here's what that means. Whenever you see the words rules of professional conduct, whether it's a state or on the federal level, that usually means that there are allegations of attorney misconduct. So just reading the table of contents, I can already see where this is going. Going to be interesting, y'all. Buckle up. Let us go into Jay-Z's argument here. So, defendant Sean Carter respectfully submits this memo of law in support of his emergency motion for an order to show cause and an order for the preservation of evidence to strike the plaintiff's complaint pursuant to Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 12F1. Here's a statement, preliminary statement. Admissions by the plaintiff and damning admissions by her own father. Oh my God, they're going in. In a December 13th NBC interview, cast yet further doubt on a claim that was obviously false from the start. The timeline, location, and occurrence of events alleged in the plaintiff's complaint are rendered impossible by these admissions. She claims her father picked her up after the assault. He ever taking that 5-hour trip. She claims she spoke with musician Benji Madden that night. He was not even in New York. She claims the assault took place at an after party hosted in a private residence. Photos show Mr. Carter, Jay-Z, at an after party at a nightclub instead. When pressed by NBC, plaintiff was forced to admit, I have made some mistakes. I may have made a mistake in identifying. Not all the faces there are as clear. And even that she was guessing about key details, including the time it took to reach the venue. What is more, she admits she does not have a single corroborating witness over the last 24 years. Now, a couple things. That's how he's opening it. So you can tell that this is going to be an aggressive document. Not in a bad way, because you need to zealously advocate for whatever side you're on if you're writing this as an attorney. So they are coming out the gate very hot, very strong. But here's the thing. 2 things I want you to keep in mind. 1, they are highly basing this off of the NBC interview, which, she did. Some people have their opinions on whether those are inconsistencies or whether this is a victim that actually had some bad things happen to her and is looking for justice. Now, remember what I showed you, because we learn here. I showed you this. I showed you Rule 11. So if something comes out and it says if your client is doing an interview and makes some mistakes, because people do that, if she is saying things that are undermining what you as an attorney put on a legal document with incorrect dates and incorrect times, that's a little bit of a problem for the Buzbee T. That's why I wanted to start this stream with showing you guys what Rule 11 means. And attorneys can face sanctions for putting incorrect information in court documents. You have to do your very best to validate the information that's going to be included, because what are you doing? You're signing your name on it. You're signing your credibility. It's going to include your bar card. That's why, I do have a little bit of a problem with the way that they source these lawsuits, because obviously we saw what happened to Cassie. Diddy's not an innocent guy in this thing. I mean, whatever, some people can shun me for that. I don't care. But we all saw the footage. We saw the tape. We saw the tapes. At least in that regard, Diddy was not innocent in what he did to Cassie. Now, here's the thing. With the feds, they're not going to play games. They're going to go and gather that evidence before any lawsuits are brought. But that's on the federal level. In the criminal space, you have investigators. You have so many people that are used to doing this type of research before any cases are brought against anyone, especially on this level with celebrities. Now, on the flip side, what we have over here is Buzbee is representing people on the civil side. That means if someone did not, go through the proper channels on the criminal side, they didn't go to police or law enforcement or anything and report it, what would happen, especially in New York, we talk a lot about the New York survivors statute that's involved heavily with these cases. This is a woman that lives in Alabama. It sounds like she still does right now. However, she is protected by the New York Survivors Act because allegedly that is where things took place. So Rule 11 is something I want you to keep in mind as we continue on with this lawsuit, because Buzbee had this big 1-800 number. A lot of people called it, and it is likely within those 2,000 calls, there are actual victims that suffered injuries and crimes from what happened to them. But when you have that many calls, can your lawsuit or your law firm effectively source through all of these requests, effectively do all the investigation that's necessary? And at the end of the day, are you guys going to process these cases the right way? Because here's what happens. If those are Diddy allegations, those are Diddy allegations. But when you start to bring in these celebrities with power, with all the things that they have, like you guys can see it, Jay-Z's not playing any games with his name here. And, to get one of the best attorneys who represented Alec Baldwin, got Alec Baldwin off, is writing this document. In just a week, we see the result of what's happening there. So, main paragraph is strong. Let's keep going. Plaintiff's unsupported allegations crumble under scrutiny as the evidence and lack thereof reveals glaring inconsistencies and outright impossibilities in her story. Her account describes a jumbotron at the scene of the VMAs, but according to the New York Police Department sources and MTV producers, no such jumbotron existed. MTV applied for a permit to install one, but was denied. And that's all paper trail, right? She references a house that supposedly fits the description of the location of the alleged assault, but no such house exists. And plaintiff's allegations become even more dubious when considering the nightclub evidence. Photos from the night in question show Mr. Combs and Miss Jennifer Lopez at both Lotus and Twirl clubs in New York. NBC reported that photos separately show Mr. Carter was at Lotus following the VMAs. Taken together, the factual inconsistencies, timeline impossibilities, and the lack of corroborating evidence make the plaintiff's allegations in the FAC wholly unreliable. Not only do these extraordinary inconsistencies undermine the plaintiff's case, they highlight severe misconduct by her counsel, Anthony Buzbee, and the Buzbee law firm. Let's pay attention to this, guys, because like I said, I think they're really trying to come at the Buzbee law firm for their method in which taking client intake and processing it more along the lines of like, hey, this woman is a liar, all of those things going from there. So again, keep an open mind. Let's read it together and see what we come up with. I am going to poll you guys in a second to see, and probably closer to the end to see what y'all think after we go through this together. It's not long. We're already on like page 3 or 4 and it's 15 pages altogether. So this is going to be a quick live for us. Okay. So we know that they're coming after the law firm. What else do they say? Unable to escape the foundational cracks in the plaintiff's story laid bare by the NBC interview, Buzbee was forced to backpedal, repudiating the very allegations he signed his name to. What did I tell y'all? In an attempt to deflect from his own failures, he foists blame on another law firm, claiming that the case was vetted before it was sent to his law firm. And so concerned is Buzbee that he is now having his client sit for a polygraph. Oh, I heard about this. Here's what Shapiro, I don't know how to say his last name. Here's what Jay-Z's lawyer is talking about. So, young woman did the interview December 13th, or young woman, 38, woman did the interview. Now, this morning, Buzbee came back guns blazing, was like, I'm suing all of you guys, Rock Nation and its attorneys, for coming after my law firm. Very strong statement. We did a video on it legit like 3 hours ago. I thought the story was done there. Then this dropped. In response to the NBC thing, Buzbee is like, listen, my client made some mistakes. We are willing to put her back on NBC and do a polygraph test so that way the public can see that she's not lying. I don't know if we have time to go into the effectiveness of polygraphs, but at the same time, let's think about the victim. If this is true, we're going to subject the victim to this again on national television to show that you are right or that someone else is wrong. If this is really about getting justice for victims, we are now using media to play it out instead of the court system. So in a way, in the eyes of justice, I think this is really messy. Just keeping it 100 with you guys. I think this is very, very messy, the way that this is being done on both sides. It's very aggressive from the Rock Nation side, and I understand that. Because if somebody is throwing allegations on your name and you have $1 billion business, you don't want that. You don't want it at all. Look at what happened with Diddy. Look at what Diddy's downfall did to him. Just with the allegations alone, I think the week of the Cassie lawsuit, Diddy was losing sponsorships, losing business deals. Nobody wanted to work with him. So I understand the aggressiveness from the Rock Nation side. You almost have to do it, especially if they are alleging it's not true. But then I'm going to be a little bit critical here, because if this woman is telling the truth, is the Buzbee law firm doing a great job and representing her and her interests if they're going to put her right back on NBC and have her take a polygraph test? This is messy. Guys, come on. If you think this is messy, put messy in the chat. If you're like, nah, AV, it's not messy, it needs to be done. I respect your opinion, whatever side of the coin you fall on. Let me know what y'all think in the chat. I mean, I don't know. Thank you, DP. It's messy as hell. Like, it's just not being done in a clean way. Look at all of y'all are agreed. Messy, 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 messy. Because here's the thing. At the end of the day, look at Cassie's attorneys. She had a story. They worked on it for a really long time. They tried to settle with Diddy. It did not work out. They vetted and validated everything that Cassie said. They went and got tapes. They alerted the feds. They did everything behind the scenes, did not say a word until it was time to drop the lawsuit. That is effective PR and communications. You don't do it last minute. You don't build it as you fly it. You do it clean. And so the lawsuit was dropped. They got to a settlement agreement very, very quickly. I think it was like, what, 2 days? So it's like, do you think that Cassie's attorneys, if people thought that she wasn't telling the truth, do you think Cassie's attorneys are going to put her, to do interviews and put her right back on a network to take a polygraph test? I mean, it's Cassie, and this woman is, maybe not as notable, but at the end of the day, do you see the difference in handling a case? Especially when it comes to matters like this. Like, you're not going to put them in situations where they have to relive the trauma, if true, and talk about it again and again, unless they want to. But like, to subject her to a polygraph, like, just in my opinion, guys, like, it's a messy mess. It's a messy mess, Nika. Like, what? And it is what it is. Cassie had details, and some of them would be like bizarre to break up. Kid Cudi's car, for example. Who's gonna make that up? And then Kid Cudi coming out like, yeah, that's true. Did he say he was gonna blow up my joint? He was gonna blow up my whip. So it is insane. Fonte has a question. What if she lies on TV? Listen, Fonte. Then you have a record of it. Then you have physical evidence of it. Right now, we're still on the attorney level, because Buzbee does have a responsibility as a barred lawyer to only put things in court that are factual. And if your client, days after you amend this lawsuit, has inconsistencies with the dates and times of these things, the law does allow for mistakes to happen, clerical errors, things like that. But you're signing it. And that's why I paused on signing it in the polygraph part, because that was a big contention in the news today. But let's keep going. The takeaway is obvious. Buzbee failed to undertake a reasonable inquiry into the facts before filing the complaint, and then amending it to assert a claim against Mr. Carter, despite an affirmative duty to do so under Rule 11. This is how good I am, y'all. I didn't read this before I showed it to you, but that is the first thing that came to my mind was Rule 11. I was like, let me make sure I show my people. That's the first thing I thought about was Rule 11. Anyway, but that is just one step in his cavalcade of misconduct. Though he has signed his name to the pleadings and other documents filed in this case, Buzbee has declined to seek admission to this court, apparently seeking to circumvent this court's authority to enforce Rule 11. Buzbee's rule breaking also extends beyond this action. He has a long history of abusing the legal process and shirking ethical responsibilities. In a case in California Superior Court, for instance, Buzbee was admonished by the judge for violating pretrial rulings. And a federal court in Texas rejected a fee arrangement orchestrated by Buzbee and his firm because it violated public policy. Interesting. The fundamental inconsistencies in plaintiff's case revealed in the NBC interview, coupled with Buzbee's chronic inability to follow the rules in this case and others, creates a substantial risk that Buzbee will destroy evidence damaging the plaintiff's case, including evidence of his own misconduct, impairing the integrity of the judicial process. Do you see how that just escalated? We went from, hey man, what she said on the interview versus what you guys have in the lawsuit, it doesn't add up. Let's figure that out. But in addition to that, it escalated from that situation to he's abusing his discretion. But on top of that, we don't trust him anymore. Judge, if he's going to lie about this, he's going to lie about other things. And if he has evidence, and if we're pointing the finger at him, is he going to destroy the evidence that implicates himself that shows that he didn't do a good job? It's a risk, Judge. It's a risk. This is an emergency motion. We need you to rule on this now. Jay-Z's lawyer came out swinging, guys. Wow. Let's keep going. In order immediately mandating preservation of all evidence relevant in this case is necessary to ensure that Mr. Carter has a full and fair opportunity to present his defense against the plaintiff's fictitious claims. That Buzbee is not admitted to this court and thus is apparently attempting to avoid its disciplinary authority only underscores the pressing need for such an order. For the same reasons, all of the plaintiff's allegations about Mr. Carter are scandalous, warranting striking them from the FAC under the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 12F. All right. Here are the facts from the Jay-Z team. A, Buzbee's misconduct in this lawsuit. Buzbee filed this lawsuit on October 20th, 2024 against Diddy and his associated businesses on behalf of an anonymous Jane Doe plaintiff. The initial complaint alleged that Mr. Combs, along with another unnamed male celebrity, raped the plaintiff at an after party held at Diddy's home following the VMAs. Rather than name Jay-Z as a defendant when the original complaint was filed, Buzbee resorted to a campaign of extortion. Tell us more. Seeking to extract an exorbitant sum in private mediation and threatening to go to the public with false and outrageous allegations that Jay-Z raped multiple minors unless Jay-Z acquiesced. Jay-Z refused. It was only after this attempt to squeeze Jay-Z that Buzbee filed the FAC, the lawsuit, in other words, adding Mr. Carter as a defendant and alleging that he was the previous unnamed male celebrity. The lawsuit alleges that on or around September 7th, pay attention to this date, guys, September 7th, 2000, plaintiff attended an after party in New York City, purportedly hosted by Diddy at a large white residence with a gated U-shaped driveway and a large living room or foyer. At the after party, the lawsuit alleges the plaintiff recognized many celebrities, which included people like Fred Durst, Benji Madden, and others. The lawsuit then alleges that she was drugged and then assaulted by Diddy. It also alleges that Mr. Carter was the previous unnamed male celebrity B, who also purported to have assaulted the plaintiff. After the incident, Diddy allegedly left the party. Not Diddy. After the incident, plaintiff allegedly left the party and went to a gas station where she called her father, admitted she lied about her whereabouts, because remember, she was 13 at the time, and asked her father to pick her up. Plaintiff's father purportedly then arrived to pick her up shortly before dawn. Now, that was one of the inconsistencies. This family's from Alabama, and it is a long drive. Talks of a 5-hour drive both ways, which would be just about 11 hours came up. So I just want you guys to know that as well. Just 5 days after Buzbee filed the complaint containing these scandalous allegations, NBC published a story containing excerpts of interviews that its reporters held with the plaintiff and her father, and presenting other information that severely undermines the merits of this lawsuit. And that's the thing. Why would Buzbee do that? The lawsuit is fresh. It's still in the early stages. Can you speak about it? Yes. But legal strategy, don't put the client out there so early on in it. But NBC got the plaintiff, her father, and other people, and the investigative reporters were able to piece together that the things that are being said here in these interviews do not match what is in the lawsuit. Okay, so of course this attorney is jumping on it. You know, for example, NBC reported that photos of Jay-Z from the night of the purported assault show him at a nightclub in New York called Lotus, which has no resemblance to the white residence with a U-shaped driveway and a large living room described in the plaintiff's complaint. Photos from that night show that Diddy and Miss Jennifer Lopez attended parties at 2 nightclubs on the night in question, Lotus and Twirl. Further, despite being sure that she talked to Benji Madden, a celebrity, at the after party about his tattoo, it looks like it was a tattoo of the Last Supper, because she had a religious background, so it was something to talk about. Mr. Madden was never there. Also, Mr. Madden did not attend the VMAs. He did not attend the purported after party and was not even in New York at the time. Instead, he was halfway across the country in the Midwest on tour with his band, Good Charlotte. Finally, the complaint alleges that the plaintiff called her father to pick her up from a gas station following the assault. He denied that that happened. Her father denied that it happened. This denial was damning. In fact, he told NBC he was unaware of his daughter's assault allegation until the week he was interviewed. Oh my God, I wish my soundboard worked. NBC reported that he has no recollection whatsoever of picking up the plaintiff on the night of the VMAs, and the plaintiff and her father were living in Rochester at the time, which would have required her father to drive more than 5 hours from their home to pick her up on the night in question, an event that no father would forget if it actually happened. Her father admitted as much, telling ABC, "I feel like I would remember that, and I don't." I mean, let's say something happened to her. If her daddy got unsupportive, but her dad is saying this to the entire country. I mean, can we not? Oh. And, if it's your father, why is your teenager running out the house at 13? I know teenagers don't listen. Oh. Okay. Let's go back to the father's quote. "I feel like I would remember that, and I don't. That's something I would definitely stick in my mind." Her father recalled one instance when he picked the plaintiff up in the middle of the night, but he said it was a local drive in Rochester. Moreover, Buzbee effectively admitted to ABC that his firm failed to conduct any investigation into the merits of the plaintiff's claims prior to filing the extraordinary allegations of child rape against Mr. Carter. Buzbee seeks to shirk his Rule 11 obligations and foist blame onto other law firms for the glaring inconsistencies exposed by the NBC report. Rather than conducting his own due diligence to vet his client's claims, Buzbee merely relied on the purported vetting of another law firm, telling NBC Jane Doe's case was referred to our law firm by another law firm who vetted it prior to sending it to us. Cases do get transferred, guys. But even when they do, like, let's say you on the other side of the screen, let's hypothetical. Let's say you're a lawyer and you call me up. You're like, AV, I got this case. Maybe I have a high caseload right now. I don't have time. I know you're doing some of the Diddy stuff. I have a client that actually might be a really good fit. I'm going to send you her file. Take a look at it before you decide to take her on. Take a look at the file. Let me know what you think. If you have any other questions, AV, you can call me about it. You can ask these questions. We vetted it. We went through our process, our investigation process, things of the like. Well, I'm going to ask, all right, what was that process like? What did you do? Walk me through your investigation process. Did you work with a PI? Are there police reports? I'm going to ask questions, even if I'm a senior partner and I hand the folder to someone else in my law firm as a supervising attorney. I'm going to say, hey, make sure that you look at this from beginning to top. Beginning to top, from top to bottom, left to right, all of those things. Look at it thoroughly. If we're taking on a file from somebody else, and if my signature is going to go on the bottom of it, because, you know, senior supervising attorneys, if my signature is going to go on it, hypothetical, right? Not licensed right now. But I need to make sure that what I'm signing is completely and utterly accurate. Even if someone else in my law firm does all of the due diligence, all of the work, this is what happens every day. Buzbee is saying somebody else gave it to us. They vetted it. And so you could see why the, Rock Nation team, Jay-Z's team, is fighting this tooth and nail in the early stages, because that is a significant responsibility that attorneys have. You have to check. But no one from the other firm signed the pleadings in this case. Oh my God. So he can't even blame it on them. That beautiful hypothetical I gave you is now out of the window because nobody from the other side, nobody signed it to validate that the factual allegations in the document were true. Oh my God. No one else signed the pleadings in this case. Buzbee did. His failure to investigate the claims violated Rule 11. I knew it. Further, as explained in the letter that Mr. Carter filed with this court on December 13th, in more than 8 weeks since he signed the initial complaint in this case, Buzbee has failed to seek admission to this court pro hac vice in the evident attempt to avoid the power of this court to enforce Rule 11 and other rules against him. Pro hac vice, what does that mean? If you're an attorney barred in another jurisdiction, in another state, and we're trying this case in New York, you do need to file a pro hac vice. So that way you can get permission to even work on the case in another state. He hasn't done that yet. And here's the thing. New York courts would have the authority, once he does, to punish him for not doing this right and violating Rule 11. That's at least what the Jay-Z team is saying here. Okay, so that's actually a fair argument. Let's go to B. They say Buzbee's misconduct on other lawsuits. Buzbee's gross violation of Rule 11 in this case and his failure to comply with this court's admission requirements are just the most recent examples in a long line of litigation misconduct. For instance, Buzbee and his law firm were recently accused of violating the rules of professional conduct by 3 former clients for his deceitful conduct. Once, see Exhibit 1, we'll look at those in a second, Exhibit 2 and Exhibit 2. So it looks like these are complaints all from December of 24, one from November of 24. And the first one is misappropriation complaint, so meaning a complaint that wasn't filed correctly. The second one, same thing. And then the third one is a malpractice summons. What is more, according to a former client of Buzbee, the Buzbee law firm dropped her as a client after she resisted the firm's efforts to pressure her to adopt a false narrative for her experiences as a victim of trafficking by celebrities, unrelated to this case. Now, let me stop, because Buzbee's statement earlier, and I'll include a card if you're watching this. We did a 10-minute video earlier where we shared Buzbee's statement from this morning. He actually talked about this, and he was saying that, the Jay-Z team had been going to his former clients to dig up information on them and pressure them to sue Buzbee. So this paragraph right here is probably what they were looking for. But allegedly, Buzbee says that he has it on tape that they were going to former clients and looking for information like this to put in the lawsuit. Just messy, guys. Just straight mess. Messy, messy, messy. Specifically, the Buzbee law firm pressured her to confirm that she was drugged, held down, pushed, and physically assaulted, all false details. Moreover, she was repeatedly asked for a connection to Diddy, though she made clear her case was unrelated to Diddy. And already in this case, he violated Rule 3.4E of the New York Rules of Professional Conduct, prohibiting attorneys from threatening to present criminal charges solely to obtain an advantage in a civil matter. By making such threats to Jay-Z to extract a settlement prior to bringing frivolous claims against him in the complaint. Buzbee also has a track record of employing suspect tactics to gain an unfair advantage in the course of litigation. Because Buzbee frequently serves clients on a contingency fee arrangement, he has a personal stake in the outcome of his cases, and has demonstrated his creativity in stepping over the line to promote his own interests. Let's talk about that for a second. What are contingency fees? That means in criminal law, you basically will pay your attorney as you go. There's usually a fee structure, or paying up front, or in installments, things of the like, payment plans. You work on that. Now, when you hear contingency, that usually happens in civil lawsuits, which is like personal injury, civil matters like this, where you sue a person, not a government entity. It's not state of Georgia versus, XYZ person. It is Jane Doe versus Jimmy Doe, right? In those scenarios, attorneys, the way that they can collect fees is if you are awarded a settlement or awarded a large lump sum at the end of the lawsuit, the attorney would get 3% or a different percentage, whatever you guys agree to, from the total proceeds. So let's say you get 20 million. It's 3% of 20 million, right? He's used to working on contingencies, and you'll see that a lot in civil cases. In one notable case, a federal court invalidated a referral agreement between Buzbee and a known fact witness in a case as invalid as a matter of public policy, which the entitled witness is 15% of the gross attorney's fees awarded if Buzbee's client was victorious. So that looks like it was back in 2012. And another unscrupulous tactic, in order to get a case heard in a favorable venue, the Buzbee firm submitted venue pleadings in a client affidavit categorized as, at best, incorrect, at worst, fraudulent. After the defendant's counsel notified Buzbee's firm that his clients represented facts that affected the trial court's venue determination, Buzbee unilaterally non-suited the case and refiled a substantially similar case in another favorable venue. We call that venue shopping. What does that mean? It means if you're trying to enter the case in the right court, sometimes you can do it incorrectly. Attorneys do that. It's the first thing you learn in law school in civil procedure class. SPV is how I learned it. It's specific jurisdiction, venue, and personal jurisdiction. Yeah, sorry. It's like you got to make sure that the court can hear the case, right? So they have jurisdiction over the matter. Sorry, subject matter jurisdiction. Personal jurisdiction. So the court has personal jurisdiction over the venue. Over the defendant. And then V is the venue. So SPV is how we were taught to remember it. And of course, it's a little rusty. So I messed that up a little bit, but that's how you know how to enter a lawsuit in the right place. It looks like Buzbee has a history of doing that, where he did it in the wrong place, but it was found that it was in the wrong venue, wrong courthouse, and then ended up filing it somewhere else and was successful there. Finally, Buzbee has demonstrated a lack of respect for and willingness to violate judicial orders. In one case, Buzbee baselessly accused a former baseball player, Scott Erickson, of being to blame for a murder while representing criminal defendant Rebecca Grossman. He falsely claimed that Erickson was a driver who hit and killed 2 young boys and was hiding in the bushes after the fatal act, despite no evidence to support this assertion. Prosecutors accused Buzbee and his team of unethical behavior, stating that they were making a mockery of the justice system. The presiding judge rebuked Buzbee, declaring, "We cannot have the defense violating pretrial rulings and expose the jury to evidence that contradicts those rulings," and reprimanded him for his conduct, stating that if it continued, the court would consider financially sanctioning Buzbee and reporting to the state bar. And then down here we have footnote 5, where this is the actual article where it happened. Legal standard. This is typically like, here's what the law says you have to do, judge. All participants of the lawsuit, including attorneys, have an unassailable duty to preserve evidence that might be useful to the adversary. Some case law there. Where there is a risk of destruction of this evidence, the court may issue a protective order directing preservation of the evidence. Courts often apply a 3-factor test articulated in the Capricorn Power case to determine whether such order is appropriate. More case law. A critical element in issuing a preservation order is the existence of a risk rather than a certainty of evidence destruction. So he's basically saying that Buzbee might destroy evidence, and he wants the judge to rule on that right away, given the case law that tells the judge that they can do it. Nevertheless, evidence is integral and essential to a party's case. It may require a preservation order, even though there is an absence of significant concern of loss or destruction. Though the issuance of the preservation order is by no means automatic, such orders are routine in cases involving electronic communications where the moving party demonstrates the relevance of the evidence at risk. Rule 12 permits the court on its own or by motion made by a party to strike from a pleading any redundant, immaterial, impertinent, and scandalous matter. Okay, it tells the judge that he can strike this case, right? Here's the argument. There's an immediate preservation order that is warranted because there's a substantial risk that key evidence will not be preserved. And real quick, I'm going to take a reading break, guys, and come to some super chats before we finish this off. Shout out to Inspired Truth Broadcast with the 5 that says, "Let's go." Thank you so much, Inspired Truth Podcast. So happy that you're here. It's got the popcorn. Shout out to Petty LaBelle, who's gifted you guys 10 AV memberships. Thank you so much, Petty, for always helping us grow this community. It means so much. Shout out to Truest Jude with the 5. Truist says, "I've been waiting for you to cover this, Miss AV. I'm here for it. Hope all is well. Peace to you in chat. Hope you're doing well as well, Truist Dude." Tat Louds with the Puerto Rican flag gifted 1 membership. Thank you so much. Our Boricua's in the house. Shout out to Count Calcula My Way, became a new member. Welcome, Count Calcula. Full Drinking and Half Thinking with the $20 super chat. Thank you so much. No comment, no question, pure love of the game. Just a kiss. Just a kiss. Kissy face. Tat Louds became a new member herself. And Trial Paralegal Regina has been a member for 4 months. Says, "Hey, AV and chat. You see this, sis? Crazy. Craziness." All right. Let's come to the argument because we're almost done with this one. I think there's about 3 pages left. Mr. Carter faces a significant risk that Buzbee will destroy evidence. Tell us why. Revelations from the recent NBC interview have Buzbee reeling and have established at minimum a very high likelihood that Buzbee violated Rule 11 by signing that complaint. That interview exposed the claim against Mr. Carter is meritless, and Buzbee all but concedes that he failed to vet the plaintiff's allegations before filing the lawsuit or amending it to include Jay-Z's name by seeking to place blame for his shortcomings on an unnamed law firm who allegedly referred him the case. In other words, Buzbee has been caught red-handed violating Rule 11's ongoing duty to lawyers to conduct a reasonable inquiry into the facts and the law before filing. Buzbee is now backpedaling and pointing the finger elsewhere to distract from his own self-evident violations of the rules. He even publicly endorsed the idea that his client should take a polygraph test, a stunning thing for an attorney to say outside of a privileged conversation. I totally agree with that. Under these circumstances, in light of Buzbee's misconduct in this lawsuit and others, it must be assumed that Buzbee will go to extraordinary lengths to conceal ethical violations. There is accordingly a significant risk that Buzbee will seek to destroy documents or other evidence that would demonstrate that he knew or should have known that the allegations in this complaint were false. To prevail on a motion of preservation order, the movement need not show that the opposing party will destroy the evidence. The movement need only show that the evidence is in some danger of being destroyed absent the court intervention. He's got some cases here to support that argument. This requirement is often met by demonstrating that the opposing party has lost or destroyed evidence in the past or has inadequate retention procedures in place. Here, several considerations establish far more than some danger that Buzbee will destroy the evidence. First, the MVC news report makes it extremely likely that Buzbee failed to properly vet the claims he made in the complaints in this case, a clear violation of Rule 11. His willingness to blatantly violate that core ethical obligation of all attorneys raises a serious possibility that he will seek to destroy evidence documenting his actions. Second, Buzbee's utter disregard for his obligations as an attorney, namely the rules governing admission to the bar of this court, and his violation of Rule 11 raise a significant possibility that his law firm has inadequate retention procedures in place. I was wondering how he's going to land that plane, because it's like, okay, he's going to destroy evidence. Well, tell me how. How do you think he's going to destroy evidence? Show us that. And he's saying here that if he will violate Rule 11, it is likely that they don't have a good document retention policy in place. Third, as explained by Mr. Carter's December 13 letter to the court, Buzbee is apparently attempting to circumvent this court's authority to enforce Rule 11 by refusing to seek admission to this court. That's the pro hac vice that I was telling you about, despite the fact that he has signed the complaints and other filings. Fourth, Buzbee's disregard for the rules in other cases underscores the need for a preservation order here. For instance, in a federal case in Texas, Buzbee orchestrated a fee arrangement with a known fact witness that the court struck down as invalid as a matter of public policy. In another case in California Superior Court, which Buzbee was defense counsel, the judge admonished Buzbee for his misconduct, stating, "This shouldn't be happening. As we go forward, we can't have the defense violating pretrial rulings and expose the jury to evidence that contradicts those rulings." Finally, Buzbee and his law firm have been sued for extortion in California Superior Court for allegations related to his conduct in connection with this case. Buzbee and his firm, therefore, face personal liability for their conduct related to this lawsuit, creating a financial incentive to destroy evidence that is unfavorable to their client, especially in light of the NBC News allegations, Buzbee's history of blatant violations of the rules, including his failure to seek admission in this case at any time in the last 2 months. Mr. Carter faces a substantial danger that the relevant evidence will be destroyed absent a preservation order. Without the order, Jay-Z's right to conduct full discovery will be irreparably harmed. Following the MDC report, it's clear that Buzbee filed a complaint and its allegation of child rape against Mr. Carter without so much as a cursory investigation into the factual merit of this client's case. These allegations have caused incalculable harm to Jay-Z, his family and his businesses, his employees, and his legacy. To defend against these fictitious claims advanced by plaintiff and Buzbee in this case, it is imperative that Jay-Z be allowed to pursue all avenues of discovery permitted under the federal rules of civil procedure. Given that Buzbee has already ignored his ethical obligations in this case, the court cannot rely on Buzbee to abide by his duty to preserve relevant evidence. To ensure Jay-Z receives fair discovery, the court must impose a preservation order. The burden on Buzbee to preserve evidence is negligible. Oh my God, I can't read today. The third element of the Capricorn power test, the ability of and financial hardship of the party if required to maintain the evidence, is easily satisfied. This is not a case where the plaintiff is likely to have a large quantity of documents, any significant storage or data retention costs associated with preserving the evidence. Accordingly, any burden on plaintiff and Buzbee would be minimal. And on balance, the significant irreparable harm that Jay-Z will face if the evidence is disposed before the trial outweighs the moderate financial burden Buzbee might endure to comply with the order. Now, here's the big part. Jay-Z wants the judge to dismiss this claim. The court should strike the complaint against Jay-Z pursuant to Rule 12F. The revelations from the ABC interview not only demonstrate a substantial risk that discovery will be destroyed, but that also the complaint should be stricken. The complaint alleges that Jay-Z committed heinous acts, but as described above, those allegations are baseless and fatally contradicted by the plaintiff and her father's statements to NBC. To say that these allegations reflect unnecessarily on Sean Carter's moral character is a gross understatement. The salacious allegations against Jay-Z serve no purpose other than to harass him and pressure him to settle a lawsuit based on false claims. The court should dismiss the plaintiff's entire complaint and at minimum, strike the allegations contained therein referencing Jay-Z and dismiss him from this action. So that's interesting because they're like, okay, if Diddy did something, keep him in, but take Jay-Z out of it. And I think that's why we saw that Instagram clip at the start of this video where he's like, they're not friends. Like the attorney's like, they have not been friends. They are cool, but they are not friends. Let's make that very clear. These two are not friends. Landing the plane. For the reasons stated above, a preservation order is necessary to ensure that the plaintiff and her counsel Buzbee and the Buzbee law firm preserve all evidence relevant to this case, and given the NBC interview revealed the meritless nature of the allegations against Mr. Carter, the complaint should be stricken under Rule 12. As such, Mr. Carter respectfully requests that the court issue the attached order to show cause, ordering Buzbee and his firm to show cause as to why an order should not be issued. So they want a response. And why the complaint should not be stricken and Mr. Carter dismissed from this action. And to set a hearing for this motion for Thursday, December 19th. Damn, they want it dismissed tomorrow morning. Oh my gosh. Plot twist. Alex Spiro. Oh my God. Attorneys for defendant Sean Carter. They want this dismissed tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. It's 6:17 on December 18th. What do y'all think is gonna happen tomorrow? Oh, okay, we gotta do a poll. We gotta do a poll right now. I need to know what y'all think. Do we think that Buzbee and team are going to dismiss this complaint tomorrow morning? I did not expect that. I thought it was just gonna be like, hey, judge, dismiss this after the holidays. They were like, no, tomorrow. Will the judge grant Jay-Z's request for dismissal? Yes, granted. No, denied. Hold up, we got a poll up. Let me know what you guys think. I cannot believe that it said tomorrow at 9 a.m. That's crazy. Y'all are saying no. You don't think it's going to get dismissed? I mean, Jay-Z, I was not expecting that. I can tell by their response to this entire thing that the defense was going to be aggressive and in a good way, But to read that on the very last line of this complaint, I did not expect that at all. Guys. Shout out to Betty Spaghetti. I haven't seen you in so long, Betty. She's been a member for 6 months. Says, hey, AV in chat. It's so good to see you, sis. Let me come to our Cash Apps. Like I said, guys, this is a quick stream. The news just came out, so I wanted to pop on here and share it with you right away. Shout out to E. Capone, hits me with a 7. He says for all $7 on the Cash App for all that reading. Yes, it's been a while since I've been doing the reading. Where are y'all with the poll? With the poll so far, will the judge grant Jay-Z's request for dismissal? Y'all are pretty split. We have 54% at yes, granted, 45% at no, denied. But at the same time, Buzbee's response is going to happen within the next 24 hours as well. Y'all, this is going to get crazy. It is definitely split. A few more votes are coming in, but it's staying right around the same, 55%, 45%. But wow, I mean, this lawsuit is interesting. Y'all commenting on the hair. Thank you, Antoinette. Yeah, it's definitely split, paint and sound. Honey Love, you see that? I was like, wow, like 9 a.m. tomorrow. It is definitely getting juicy, Aquarius. Shout out to trial paralegal Regina. She says, I think Jay-Z will sue Buzbee for daily damages to his name and brand like Cardi did to Tasha K. She did. And that's still, I think it's still going on. I think I saw a few people reporting on that. Anne says, how do they turn Cassie's video into this case suddenly? Are they acting like she was running from a freak off? You know, they said that after the situation occurred, that she immediately left the room, that she was still kind of underdressed and like ran outside, was able to put her clothes on, get to a gas station and call for help. But again, she called her dad. She didn't call 911. Some victims do that. She didn't ask for immediate help. But crazy. Ramon, he is under pressure, to say the very least. To say the very least. Well, listen, guys, I got to get back to all these videos we're making for you. So this at least saved me a little bit of time because it just came out. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be reporting on it, but this got filed about an hour or two ago. So I wanted to get it to you right away, make sure that we broke it down, talk a little bit more about Rule 11 and what attorneys have to follow. Looking at your poll, you're at same thing, 56% and 44. I mean, it's crazy. But everybody's talking about it. The internet's kind of divided, whether they're on Jay-Z's side or whether we need to side with victims. But at the same time, if this is true and something happened to her, it's not. I'm just gonna keep it 100 with you guys. It's not looking good as far as how the Buzbee team has handled this case. Let's keep an open mind to see what his response is going to be. But it's not looking good as far as like advocating for your client in the best of your ability. I mean, I would never put her on an interview this early on in litigation. It's just not something I would do if I were representing her, you know? Shout out to Miss Sunny, who says he's already admitted he didn't vet the accuser and place blame on the original law firm. I mean, it's right there. He said it. He said it on record. Yes, Honey Love. Yeah, we did a video on that earlier. If you guys are interested, check out our video that if you're looking for more information after you finish watching this live stream, we did a video earlier on Tony Buzbee's response. And we also have the CNN clips as well. Sorry, NBC clips as well. We did include that. So check that out earlier. He is suing Rock Nation, Tony Buzbee. That came out this morning. I was waiting for that lawsuit. Haven't got my hands on it yet, but this one was filed almost at the exact same damn time. So the tea is piping hot over here. Anywho, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. We've got a lot of content coming. Seeing you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Bye.